Warm-up with Trey Lyle. Join us live on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM or the VTRN Sports app. Open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker or stream live on YouTube. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy.
Good morning. 7:03 on this Tuesday, February 25th. There are a few days left, I guess, including today, 4 days left in February, which that's dumb. That's weird. I don't get why we designed a calendar like this, but we did. And it's almost the end of the second month of 2025. And yippee-ki-yay, I guess.
Yeah.
Phil Doss is here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Phil, well, he's not filling in for Ty. Ty is here. If you're watching on the stream, you can see Ty over Philip's shoulder. We'll have Anthony Damcott on later. And in a matter of moments, we are going to get the insights of spring practice. And I put air quotes around spring practice because Liberty's going through it right now with former Liberty offensive lineman Philip Doss. But
let's go.
But in case you missed it last night, starting with a couple of scores, one in the ACC. Carolina gets another much needed win. They're actually playing really good basketball of late. I believe they have now won 4 straight as they defeat Florida State 96-85. We did have a top 10 matchup last night, and it is Houston 69, Texas Tech 61, and I think that's a nice win for Houston last night. Couple big wins. Houston looking like possibly maybe could upset the apple cart between Duke and Auburn. And then Michigan gets a close win over Nebraska. If you want to get even closer, William & Mary fell to UNC Wilmington last night. And that's kind of the only notable scores in college basketball last night of note. Norfolk State got a nice win over Morgan State, 69-60, if we want to stay with the Virginia teams in that one as well. And then the rare Kansas unranked game. This is their first time like 1,400 days. They are not ranked. They defeat Colorado 71-64. NBA scores of last night. Starting with the Washington Wizards, we'll go local. They defeated the Nets 107-99. So, yes, the Wizards now have 10 wins on the season. So, we'll see how that's going. Bulls 142, Sixers 110. Sixers have now lost 7 in a row. And I think that was the first time since Joel Embiid was a rookie year. So when they were, starting to trust the process is when they've lost that many games. Speaking of hot teams, I can't believe I'm saying this. The Detroit Pistons, winners of 7 straight, 106-97 over the Clippers. Hawks defeat the Heat 98-86. Nuggets 125, Pacers 116. And Timberwolves 131, Thunder 128. T-Wolves overcome a 24-point fourth quarter deficit to defeat OKC in overtime. And staying local, Hornets 88, Kings 130. Hornets keeping their mission going in terms of tanking. And Trailblazers 114-112. So imagine this is an old school sports center. We just give you all your scores. If we could give you the highlights, we would. But, old school sports center tries to get you as many scores as we could in the first 5 minutes. Actually, 3 minutes of the show. I was that quick. So we're going to have Anthony Damcott on later. So we're going to we'll do today in sports history in the first segment. But first, you like that? Look at that. But first, I feel like one show is like that would always do the but first is like a big, I don't know. We're getting off track. All right. Philip, you're here. Ty and I talked about it yesterday. We have these schools not doing spring games. So you have Texas, I know Nebraska, I think USC is another one. Ole Miss does this kind of carnival event, 7-on-7. They do a dunk contest, a hot dog eating contest, stuff like that. So you obviously Liberty under Liberty under Freeze, Liberty under Chadwell, and they attack the spring differently. Chadwell does it early. I think Freeze did it like mid-March.
Yeah, towards like the end of the year, and Chadwell does it like literally a month after you get off the plane from the bowl game. So like that fast.
So which one do you prefer?
I feel like getting the getting on the ground, running a little fast after the bowl game. You get a month into like conditioning, seems a little fast, and like a lot of the guys like, I don't know about this, but once it gets to the later months of the spring, you're like, okay, my body feels all right. We're just gonna do our mat drill program. I had no problem with Chadwell's. I really enjoyed it actually.
All right, and obviously the spring game is what, this Saturday?
Yeah, the first.
This Saturday, so this week. We're Bryson on tomorrow. Probably preview. Ty is shaking his head, excited. But what Bryson on tomorrow preview more of the things we want to see. But I want to get your perspective as someone who participated in it. So do you think these spring games are of value? Ty and I tossed some ideas around. We'll get to those in a second. But do you see the value in having a physical spring game, or do you think from a player it's just a glorified practice that it has more fans in front of it?
I think it's always gonna. I don't want to call it. I would call it probably a glorified practice.
It's okay to be honest here.
Yeah.
I think most fans, honestly, I think 99% of fans are probably understanding that it's a glorified practice.
Yeah, a lot. Like there'll be this true sport fans that would come out there. There's gonna be like a great QB battle. I think they got all three of the new ones. Either I know Bradford and Berger are out, so it's gonna be like 2 or 3 new faces nobody's seen. A lot of new pieces on the team, so you can call it almost like a glorified practice. You'll have more of these type of jamboree type of practice type of deals, like when it gets closer to the fall, like you have like one-on-one, just a lot of competition. But it is kind of interesting to see like colleges like move away from the traditional like spring game type of format. But yeah, it really is like it starts competitive and then it just kind of just put in all the other teams during the spring game. So it's like might as well just kind of die it down.
So for you, who you were a walk-on,
Yeah.
Did you try to take the spring game more seriously than maybe a guy who's more established because you felt like this is my time to, like, I don't want to say shine, but
yeah.
I mean, you never know what could happen, I think, with injuries and things. But did you want to be like, this is my time to play for the university in front of my family? Like, did you view that any differently?
Yeah, you're gonna have like a lot of friends and just people coming out and watching the game. And a lot of times, like during the spring, you're not going to see a lot of those older vets and the starters. Like they might be out. So it really is your time to shine, and you can put something on film because you could be starting the entire spring, get to the fall, and you're back on like the 3 deep or 4 deep. So like really establishing yourself during the spring, and not even just like during the practicing, like during like the conditioning, all that. Like that's like really important. So definitely when you got there for the spring game, you have to take advantage of everything.
And so they're going away at the major programs because of poaching. That's kind of, I guess, one of the excuses. I know Sark said they basically have played 30 games in the last 2 years because they made 2 college football playoff runs.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't want to put my team through that. And I actually get that. Do you think that, one, college is going to move to the NFL model of OTAs where you have like 2 practices, like 2 weekends, or they do a week kind of thing, like twice in the spring, and then your training camp is more extended in the summer? Do you expect something like that? Would you prefer something like that? Or as a guy who played, and Ty, you can answer this too because you both played college football, so you both give. I'm again back to being the third most athletic person in this room. What do you think? What would you prefer? Would you prefer what they have now, or kind of a NFL model in terms of practices for the off season?
I think, of course, players would love to have like more of like a chilled out type of deal. You're not practicing as much during the spring, and you'll just have a couple of days or sessions where you come in. But at the same time, like you have to look at it like these are college students, and the best way to get the most out of them is that we have 15 practices for the spring, and it's going to go for like 2.5 weeks. It's feet on the ground, like all 15 practices. Like I would rather just do it straight because like the work ethic is going to be created in college, because we see like a lot of times you get to the NFL and guys just kind of like cool down and people just get out of the shape, and it's just not taken as seriously almost, even though they are professionals. But I can see why coaches do. They might be moving away from the spring game traditional format, but I would definitely want to keep it the same traditional way.
Keep the schedule the same in terms of like the tired. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I definitely agree, because I think the 15 practice is important in the spring game. That's how you keep your players active and know like what you got going on and stuff on the team, and like just in case you gotta make some changes and stuff.
So instead of doing like, let's say seven practices in the spring, and then they add, it would be like 10 to the summer. So you start, instead of that like summer camp, but like I guess they call it fall camp, like instead of starting, when would you start fall camp for this season? Like July?
Yeah, probably July 31st.
Late July.
Yeah,
late July. So instead of, what if you started like July 4th, after July 4th, and then you come, so you have a month before the season to get ready, essentially, or 2 months before the season to get ready.
Man, I'll be fine with that, as long as we're not putting on the pads, because like even Ty could say, like, even outside of spring ball, after every conditioning, like you're gonna be lining up
spring ball.
Yeah,
air quotes around spring ball.
You're running plays and getting in the film room like every day, and that's probably the part that irritates athletes the most, is it never ends. You guys are always going to be doing like OTAs and etc. So it never really ends. So you can see the repetitiveness, and you're like, man, why are we just strapping up the pads? But if they start earlier, I'd tell coach, man, just
coming.
Make sure those shoulder pads are away at least.
So okay, interesting. So you're both pro kind of the schedule it has now, but I'll throw something else at, with a portal and everything, and Ty didn't have to deal with it. You had to deal with it as even being, a walk-on. You had to deal with it with teammates. I think you probably knew, like, hey, this guy's leaving, this guy's staying, this guy's coming in. Like, it was a lot of transition your last 2 years at least.
Yeah.
Mainly, probably Chadwell mainly, because that's when the portal ramped up, was NIL came in. So you look at it, like, do you think by trying to make one window and then making this more like, basically you would make a free agency period in college football, and if you did the NFL model with the OTAs, it kind of blends better with this new, essentially 1 year free agency that the portal is? Do you think that's another reason why it might change and why it might need to change, is just because the college calendar is so out of whack, where yes, in an ideal sense, back in, 2019, it made sense to do these spring practices, and it's actually beneficial to me, because now I have 3-4 months to get rested up before the season. But now with the portal and guys leaving and going, do you think that changes the dynamic?
I think it does, and I really think we saw college football run early into January this year, and
late into January. January 20th was the national championship.
And I think that time between like the end of the regular season and like just getting into like the Christmas holiday season, like that's when the transfer portal opens. I think that's like the most important time to go into the portal and snag guys. And we saw a lot of players that are in the college football playoffs like have to opt out just for the betterment of themselves, because they need to go find a college because it equals up with like the enrollment when classes start. And it kind of sucks, because there were some players that were on Ohio State that had to leave and they won a championship. I almost feel like they
Devin Brown is an example.
Yeah, it's crazy. I almost feel like they need to push back the season maybe a little bit into the summer, so the season doesn't run as long, because I think that winter period of the transfer portal is like probably the most important period. Like, you'll see a lot of guys opt out or enter the portal after spring ball, but I'd rather get the guys in the winter. I feel like those are the guys that are gonna be more balled in, just not in a bad place. Like, man, I'm not gonna play, I'm just gonna go leave. Like, if I'm gonna go like pick players out, I think it needs to be like in the winter in that first period. But then that brings in, like I said, like moving the season back to get during this free agent period, I guess you could say now in the transfer portal.
So we're starting to have an in-depth conversation about college athletics, college football. Philip, former Liberty offensive lineman, and then we have Ty as well, who played at Virginia Union. He played Division III college football. Division II. My bad. I passed that school every Sunday when I'm on my way to church, and I should have known that. And I'm from Richmond, so he played Division DOS football. My bad. That's all me. Dollar in the jar. But so you know, we're talking a little bit about Liberty, the fact they do such early spring. Like Virginia Tech, I think is doing their winter workouts right now. Like just to put in perspective, like the different, and it's, you know, it's coach to coach, and I get Chadwell's logic in terms of, hey, we want to be healthy for the season, so how do we maximize our time off in between, you know? And it makes sense, and we'll have Bryson on, probably talk more about the quarterback battle and position battles, because he's been able to go to a couple practices. And Ty, and Philip, I don't want to put you in necessarily a bad spot, because I think you have personal relationships with a lot of guys on the team, so I'm not going to ask you your opinion, because I don't think that's fair to you. That'd be like me.
Okay.
It's like me asking, you know, an Eagle after 2015 or 17, would you prefer Carson Wentz or Nick Foles?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not gonna do that to you. I just want to know more about you being a player and how it affected you. And that's why line of questions I gave. But you look at it, Philip. So this, I put air quotes around the spring. It's just because it's really a glorified winter practice. I mean, this is like the first week you're going to actually have spring weather as spring practices happen. And you talked about your preference towards it. These practices, like how much does it balance correcting the issues from last season and then installing new things? Because you got to experience the spring practices off the, you know, the undefeated season, the Fiesta Bowl appearance, and you also got to experience it off of Chadwell's first season. So, and then also Hugh Freeze and what he had to deal with. So what are the, like, how much is it between installation of, because, you know, it's the same scheme essentially.
Yeah.
But there's new players. How much is like installation versus like fundamentals and, you know, correcting issues necessarily?
So I think the installation will come. So we'll have spring ball. This will probably go for like most colleges. Like you'll have spring ball that period. They'll have the open practices, but the installation like never really stops almost, because you're having OTAs whenever the NCAA says you can have them, quote unquote, or not. You're having OTAs all throughout the summer. And I think the fundamental part is what matters the most. And that's what Chadwell is going to be like really, what's the word? He's just going to be really emphasizing the spring. Like we saw in 2023, the new staff come in, didn't know anybody, new group of players, and everything had to be earned. And like I can't tell you, we did 500 up downs the day before the spring game, just like different punishment. Like they really emphasize like this isn't a joke, like everything will be earned. And you could almost see this past season, we thought we had arrived 13-0. We made it, big shots, Conference USA, and we obviously saw how the result of that this past season. Chadwell emphasized a lot, like we thought we've arrived for the big shots, and we finished 4th in the conference. So I know right now they're like back to day one. Like I want to say you guys are nothing, but like you're going to earn what you get. Like we're going to see what the team's really about.
You're Trey Lyle. Just say that. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the fundamental part is really, I think that's really emphasis. That's really what's important.
So you obviously have still personal connections with, I would assume, a lot of players.
A little amount, yeah.
So you can offer some good perspective here, and I don't want you to get in trouble, and I don't want you to say something that you can't. Like
Yeah,
Just
I'd be having to think about that sometimes.
to preface this, but the vibe around the team. I know you and I have talked off the air about like certain players left, certain changes have had to be made. Do you feel that this team has kind of refocused itself? Because Liberty is a very unique team in terms of their resources and where they are in Conference USA, where, you know, they're on a like, if you have to make the list of the team, like, it might be disappointing if they win, like losing 4 games. Most schools will take that.
I know, that's
right?
insane.
Going
yes.
8-4, like that's like, but this was a disappointing season. Like
Yes.
it's like you're on the levels of like Alabama and Georgia in terms of expectations, in terms of just in your conference. So the vibe around the team right now, do you feel like these issues that came to happen last year, whether it was just ineffective execution, ineffective, maybe an attitude problem, not saying, because I believe in Jamie Chadwell, but sometimes it's just hard. It's hard after going 13-0 to do it again.
100%.
Like, the only person that's really been able to do it is Nick Saban, man,
Yeah.
or Georgia for back-to-back years. And guess what? Half their defense was part of the team that just won the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. So
Probably gonna get Abdul Carter too somehow.
So yeah, if you could get Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter on your team, and Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean, and
Ringo.
yeah, so all contributors to the team that just won the Super Bowl. But obviously the disappointment after last season, not meeting your expectations of winning the conference. What is the vibe around the team right now?
It's almost, I would say there's so many new players, a good little mix of both, but guys are finally starting to get in the maturing role. Guys just getting a little older, and some other guys coming in. I've told some of my friends that are still on the team, like, you guys are primed to have a really good season, because I told you, like, they're just back to day one, like earning everything they get. We saw the results of last season. It's almost like all the pressure is off of them. So it's really like all up in the air. As long as they can really go back to the fundamentals and just like continue to mature and like remember who they are, they should be fine. But it's kind of crazy, like what you said, a lot of schools would take this 8-4 season and celebrate like the biggest win ever. And being a Lynchburg native, it is kind of crazy to see. It was a disappointing season, but to win a game and to have backlash, it's almost like, wow, like never experienced this before. But like when it comes to being great, like it costs a lot. So I know what Coach Shell's expectations are, and he's going to make sure the team lives up to them. So I think they'll be all right. I know they'll be all right this season.
So undefeated. Is that what you think? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to put that. We'll have you back in the fall.
Yeah, I'm not the genie. I'm not the genie in the.
It's okay. No, it's. I just had a. I'm just messing with you. Well, but I mean, I think they're gonna have some fun games this year. JMU ODU is
It's gonna be a fun game.
The top of the list. Maybe Joe Flacco will show up for the game against Delaware. That'd be lit. Joe Flacco. But we're here with Philip Dawes, who's our intern running the board. Ty. It's weird. I don't have to train him right now. Ty is doing it. I'm proud of Ty. It's like I had to teach Ty everything, which I don't know if I did a good job, and I don't know if I'm a good teacher.
He's doing all right. It's like the Jedi and the Padawan. He's teaching me how to do it. Everything. Smooth sailing.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we'll do Today in Sports History. We'll see if Philip knows this. If not, I'll give Ty a shot. Then we're gonna switch gears. I talked about it yesterday. We have to talk about Luka Doncic. He's playing before we get to Anthony, he's playing the Mavs tonight. Okay. To me, that is the most intriguing sports game. I think intriguing, like the most exciting sports game was that US-Canada game. But like the most intriguing, okay, let me rephrase this. Most intriguing regular season NBA basketball game, and at least maybe since Kobe's last game where he dropped 60. Like, I think it's that. Like that,
that's a bold take. Valid take, bold take.
I think maybe the KD. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Oh, okay. Actually, I forgot the KD. the KD return game to OKC was since the KD return game to OKC.
Yeah, that was
That because that would have been after Kobe's 60. So, all right, when we come back, talking a little bit NBA here on the morning warm up, 7:28.
Everyone wants to save money on their next car purchase, right? Well, listen up, because I have a way for you to save thousands. Right now, Volkswagen is offering 0% for up to 60 months on a new VW Tiguan with approved credit. Do you realize when you compare a 6.9% rate on $30,000, it can save you $5,730? Now, that's an opportunity you don't want to miss. Come by Terry Volkswagen today, before this deal is gone, and take a spin in this amazing SUV. Terry Volkswagen. You'll love our cars.
Allstate agent Donovan Howell is now serving Lynchburg. He lives and works here just like you. And with all kinds of local insurance advice, Donovan is someone you can count on to help you protect all that's good in your life. Donovan makes it easy to save on the quality protection you need, and I'll even help you do the switching and the paperwork for you.
Call or come by the Donovan Howell Allstate office in Windhurst today.
Welcome to the Villas at Oakwood, offered by Oakwood Villas Retirement Homes, LLC, the best kept secret in Bedford. Our stunning community offers spacious, one-level modern villas with top-of-the-line amenities. Enjoy a walk through our landscape community, connect with neighbors in our clubhouse, and take in the views of the peaks. Visit thevillas@oakwood.com or contact Robin Lee Sage at 434-238-4477, brokered by Legacy Realty and Development.
Do you have a sports card and memorabilia collection?
Wow.
Did you inherit one? Not sure what to do with it? BNC Sports has been your local hobby store for over 30 years, and they'll provide their professional assessment and can cash you out. No collection is too big or too small, so don't drop the ball. Stop by the mall or give us a call. BNC Sports, the game starts here.
At InsaneRadioDeals.com, we've gotten a message from management. Let it go, let it go, let go of all these items. So now through the end of February, get 22% off the list price of every item in honor of the second month of the year. That includes Ballad Brewing and Three Roads Brewing gift cards, the Yard on 5th Street gift certificates, and gift certificates to Downtown Cairo, Mediterranean and Egyptian, and Duck Donuts. Now at InsaneRadioDeals.com, enter the promo code FROZEN at checkout for 22% off now through February.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app, or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:31, just past the bottom of the hour here on the morning warm-up. Philip Doss is here, our intern, running the board. Ty is training him well. It's like my little baby cub now training his own. Couple notes that we missed in case you missed it yesterday. The Green Bay Packers submitted a proposal to the NFL's competition committee to ban the tush push. It was first announced as an unnamed team, but shout out to Diana Rossini, where she revealed it's the Packers. No, it's not.
Duval.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Now Ty knows what I played because he can't hear it while we have the mics on. But I just had to get that clip in. And, well, that's just dumb. I mean, the Eagles can, I think it was 88% conversion. Like, we just watched the AFC Championship game, a team stop it, okay? With a really good quarterback. That's big and strong in Josh Allen. So, that's just dumb. All right. Today in sports history, Philip, the question is to you. This happened in 1964. This man won his first heavyweight title by defeating Sonny Liston in the 7th round in Miami.
I got two answers. I don't know. I want to go traditional and say Muhammad Ali. I almost gonna
That so you're close with Muhammad Ali. He was not Muhammad Ali yet.
Joe
That's your-
Frazier.
No, he was not Muhammad Ali yet. So it is Muhammad Ali. Like I'm gonna give you the correct, but I want
like Casey's K something like that.
no.
He was like something like that.
Cassius Clay.
Cassius Clay. Yeah.
It was
It was
Man.
before he converted.
I was
Man.
close though, right?
Yes, Casey Clay. You said Casey K.
I was like Casey K or Casey. It was same.
Cassius Clay. So this was when Muhammad Ali first won his heavyweight title. How about this? On this date in 1987, SMU received the death penalty. Suspended for the 1987 season. So for hear this, ready? Because it was revealed that players received $61,000 from a booster slush fund. So basically, what's legal now?
Yeah, that would
A
have been
collective.
that would have been like
Essentially a collective.
start early.
How about that? So it's kind of nuts that like people forget. Watch the Pony Express. SMU was on the level of Texas and Oklahoma in the 80s. They had Eric Dickerson
Dickerson,
and
yeah.
Craig James in a backfield, and they were in the option, and it was really good. And they probably should have won a national title, but they were suspended from postseason play. And I think they would have probably been on. I don't know if they would have been on the level of Oklahoma and Texas, but they would have been up there because notice they're basically bought their way to the ACC. So they have plenty. As I flip to Ed's
dollar bills, y'all.
Sound bites. All right, tonight. Well, tonight there's two big basketball games. Well, one we're going to air. Louisville, Virginia Tech. Another esteemed 9 p.m. tip in Blacksburg. Why? Just why? 8:30 airtime right here on VTRN Sports. Number 19, Louisville, 10.5 point favorites. Louisville's playing really good basketball of late. They're actually one game back at Duke in the ACC. They've won 5 in a row. This is an incredible bounce back from Louisville being maybe the worst P4 team the last 3 years.
Yeah,
and
like one game a year ago.
And now they're 21-6, 14-2. Pat Kelsey, who came from College of Charleston, has done a really good job. Chucky Hepburn is a really good player, 15-6 on the year. 15-6. They have, I think they have a really, really, really good team. I would be shocked if they didn't win tonight. But if you're Virginia Tech, be competitive. That's kind of what I ask. You're going to have a tough stretch these next couple of games in Louisville, Syracuse, North Carolina, Clemson. And Syracuse is probably the one you can get in terms of a win. And the other three, I would not bank on it. Clemson kind of sneaky under the radar as the 13th best team in the country right now. That's the ranking. They're going to make the tournament. Louisville will make the tournament. So Carolina could make the tournament. So you're playing three of the last 4 against tournament teams. And I think for Virginia Tech, and same thing for Virginia, their schedule down the stretch is tough. Be competitive. And Virginia tomorrow night will take on Wake. Wake's going to be the more desperate team because they're on the bubble. So good luck. But I think they're going to be tough stretches to end for Virginia Tech and Virginia. Philip, do you have any idea, any inkling about the game tonight?
Louisville VT or the other game?
Louisville VT. We'll talk about the other game in a second.
After the game last week with Virginia Tech, you'd almost be thinking, like you said, just go out there and just give some effort. Like, let's see what happens. 9 p.m. tip-off in Blacksburg.
Yeah, don't play as bad as you did last time we had a 9 p.m. tip.
Yeah, I would make the game earlier. I would not want to do that. Maybe they're just looking at both these teams.
That's
like,
just the esteemed ACC, buddy.
Yeah, doesn't beat the Conference USA, I guess. I don't know. But,
I mean, the ACC is better than Conference USA, but
yeah,
at least Conference USA, they put their like team. If you're playing out west, in the central time zone, you play at 9 o'clock, not on the Eastern time zone.
Yeah, I'd be looking for Louisville to take that 10-point favorite, really pull it out. Maybe Virginia Tech players have a little bit more push. They
Being at home?
Yeah, and they don't want to get put out like they did last week, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Good. I like it. All right, tonight, game, here we go. Mavs, Lakers, 10 o'clock on TNT. You're going to have the inside crew. You're going to have Charles Barkley.
I'm telling you the truth. I think it's a great city. I think they got the best organization in the NBA, but they do have some big old women down there. I mean, come on now.
All right, I had to play the Charles Barkley clip. I think it's going to be just because of the injuries for Dallas, they essentially don't have a center. They're going to have no AD, no Daniel Gafford, no Likely. Lakers are actually, I think first in defense in their last 18, which take that with a grain of salt because their team is so different, but they really hadn't had Anthony Davis for any of those 18 games because he got hurt, right before he got traded. So, and then he got hurt again in his first game with the Mavs. But I think Luka, I'm interested in two things. One, where Nico Harrison sits, and two, what number does Luka pick? Because after I watched him against Denver, what number does he pick in order to? What number does he pick in order to? He's going to score. I jokingly set the over/under at 49.5. I would not be shocked if he drops 50. I said yesterday, I think having LeBron, who's been through this, especially one of this kind of level, which it was negative when it was the decision and he came back to Cleveland, but he's been through playing against playing against your former team.
Yeah.
Philip. So I set the over under at 49.5. I can actually look up Luka's over under in terms of points tonight. As I quickly go to unnamed sportsbook, and Luka's over under is set at over 32.5.
I'm taking the over. I think JJ will let him play.
He scored 30 on Saturday.
I think him and Dawson are going to be.
Him and Austin Reeves?
Austin Reeves, yeah.
One of the white guys.
Yeah, one of them. I think him and Reeves are going to be the top two scorers. I honestly think LeBron's going to be more facilitator, or you might see Luka doing more of that since he'll be drawing all the attention. But I can definitely see Luka having a nice comeback game tonight.
Yeah. All right. I agree. Yeah. Lakers are 8.5-point favorites. I hope, how you can they do the coaches cam sometimes, and we got to go to break because we got to get to Anthony. I hope they have I hope one, Nico Harrison sits in the stands, and two, they have a camera on Nico Harrison the entire game. And that's what I want. All right. When we come back from break, we will get the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Anthony Damcott from frontstretch.com. We're going to talk NASCAR because guess what? It's like we pick up our NFL conversation. Officiating. Got to talk about it. Unfortunately, after a very good race at Atlanta. So Anthony Damcott joins us next here on the morning warm-up. 7:41 here on this Tuesday.
We are making it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With the best selection, value, finance options, and exceptional service. Plus 900 pre-owned vehicles all in one location. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. The Used Car Superstore is your one-stop for most makes and models. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile, with finance options for every budget. 900 used vehicles in stock now. More than any other dealer in the area. Hurry in for straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Why wait? Make it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier family-owned car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER-1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Are you a property owner looking to maximize your investment? Tired of the day-to-day hassles of managing your rental properties? Welcome to Brownstone Properties, where we take the stress out of property management. From tenant screening to maintenance and everything in between, we'll ensure your property shines.
Hello there.
Visit brownstoneproperties.com and come by our office, 3720 Old Forest Road in Lynchburg.
Sandstone architecture, melodic music, wonders of the world. They're staples of Egyptian and Mediterranean culture. But you don't have to travel thousands of miles to experience it. Just drive to downtown Cairo. Located in the Grays Mill Center in Forest, downtown Cairo brings you food from the entire Mediterranean, blended with the best Egyptian recipes. This means fresh ingredients cooked on a charcoal grill, staples like $5 heroes, and build your own Mediterranean bowl. Experience the taste of Egyptian and Mediterranean world in your own backyard. Downtown Cairo, Grays Mill Shopping Center in Forest.
At InsaneRadioDeals.com, we've gotten a message from management. Let it go, let it go, let go of all these items. So now through the end of February, get 22% off the list price of every item in honor of the second month of the year. That includes Ballad Brewing and Three Roads Brewing gift cards, the Yard on 5th Street gift certificates, and gift certificates to Downtown Cairo, Mediterranean and Egyptian, and Duck Donuts. Now at InsaneRadioDeals.com, enter the promo code FROZEN at checkout for 22% off now through February.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected with the show at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app, or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:45. We'll just round up real quick because it's now 7:45 on this Tuesday, February 25th. Joining me now, as he does sometimes with frontstretch.com, because he edits for frontstretch.com and also goes to the track occasionally, at Anthony Damcott on Twitter, my good pal. Mr. Anthony Damcott joins us now. Thank you so much for getting up with us, my friend. And let's just dive right into it. Exciting race on Sunday, but there is this looming dark cloud over it with officiating. To break down the timeline, you have the Daytona 500. They let them race to the finish. They let them race to the end on the caution after a pretty bad early caution call on the final lap of the second duel. Then Saturday, you do the same thing. There's a wreck going into on the backstretch at Atlanta. They let them in the Xfinity race. Austin Hill wins, but he let them race the line. Eldon Sawyer comes out in the driver's meeting that Sunday and says that shouldn't have happened. We call the caution, and ultimately he's a man of his word, so I have to give him credit there. On Sunday, caution in a very similar spot, they call it, or wreck in a similar spot, they call the caution. But we are now still having the inconsistency. So my question to you is, has NASCAR finally kind of said, if it's a caution, we're just going to call it? Or are you afraid that the inconsistency is going to continue?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope that that's the case. I certainly hope that we have reached a point where NASCAR will just call a yellow, and be done with it on the final lap. Which I think that's what fans are most upset about. I don't think they're really upset about whether or not, a crash on the backstretch is worth throwing a caution. I think it's the fact that we've had 6-7 different races between Cup, Xfinity, and Truck, and all of them have had a different colored flag to end the race when it feels like they all should have had the same. So I think hopefully with the way that the Cup race finished after Eldon Sawyer came out and said we are going to throw a yellow if there's a crash, hopefully that means that I believe it was Denny Hamlin on his podcast said, hopefully this is wipe the slate clean. We're 1-0 with correct calls, and that can be the standard going forward. But they have to stick to that, right? They have to make sure that is the standard going forward. We can't have any more of these, holding the yellow or trying to go back and forth on whether they should throw the caution. But I think hopefully with the way that the Cup race ended, I hopefully that this is the start of the standard going forward with yellows on the final lap.
Do you think NASCAR just needs to come out and say, going forward, if it's a caution on lap 1 or lap 20 or whatever, we're just calling it, or they say we'll let you race we'll let you race? And do you think NASCAR just needs to come out and say, this is what we're doing going forward, or do you think, all right, they've made a call, we'll trust them for now?
It's tough because logistically, you would think that if it's a caution, like you said, if it's a caution on lap 1, it's a caution on lap 267 or whatever the race distance is. The issue is obviously that temptation to just let the leaders get back to the line, especially if you're at a track such as Daytona or Talladega, or even this week we're going to a almost 3-mile road course in Circuit of the Americas. You would think that if there's a crash at a point where you could let them race back, that they're going to race back. So I'm if NASCAR is verbally saying this is how we're going to call it going forward, I'm willing to trust them on that. Obviously, that might lead to some calls that make fans unhappy, but I think if they can just maintain its consistency, which is, for me, that's all I ask for, is to just be consistent. Throw the yellow, don't throw the yellow, just be consistent. I think I'm willing to let them police it trust them to police it going forward.
Let's get positive. Let's turn this around and look at Atlanta. This was a great race, objectively. I think we have now had, I believe, like 3 straight really good Atlanta races. I think we could go back to the earlier conversation about fans being upset. Maybe they feel like a 3-wide finish was stolen from them once again in back-to-back races or back-to-back years in this race. But that aside, has Atlanta kind of confirmed itself as the best super speedway in terms of its racing compared to Daytona and Talladega?
I think it has, and this is admittedly coming from someone who was opposed to the way Atlanta was reconfigured. I think it took a couple races for it to find its footing, and I think to a degree, I feel like it's still finding its footing, especially in the Xfinity Series. But I feel like that's also mostly on the field, just letting Austin Hill dog walk the field. But I think this is the super speedway racing that I think fans want to see at Daytona and Talladega. They want to see cars have to deal with handling, right? They want to see cars who can get a big enough run where they can dive bomb the leader going into 3 and slide up and clear them. And they want to see that if that doesn't work, they're going to go all the way to the back because no one's going to go with them. I think this is what made races, these classic Daytona races that we see in highlight reels. I think this is what fans like to see out of them, and I think Atlanta is providing that for us. And I think, I think with the track pavement aging since it's been repaved, I think it's 4 years ago now. I think Atlanta's really come into its own as not just a good super speedway race, but probably the best as of right now, especially with the way that the cars handle at Daytona and Talladega.
Now, even looking bigger picture than just super speedway racing, do you think Atlanta's entered the conversation as the best track on the circuit?
So the best track on the circuit is a little bit subjective because, you're going to have fans who prefer the road courses. There are going to be fans this weekend at Circuit of the Americas saying, finally, some real racing. This is what, this is why we watch NASCAR. There are going to be people when we go to the short tracks like Richmond and be like, finally, some real racing, some, beating, banging action. And then there are people who will say that, Atlanta is what we want to see out of racing. So I think to call Atlanta the best track on the circuit is a little subjective, and I don't know if I would say that it is, at least in my opinion. But I think compared to where it was with the really old surface, I think, because I remember those races in like 2018, when Kevin Harvick would just completely dominate the field, and everyone, I mean, it was really low on people's lists for like favorite tracks. But I think since the repave, it certainly has asserted itself as I'd say at least a top 10 track on the circuit right now.
Now looking at, I guess the biggest star coming out of this weekend, Carson Hocevar. Maybe, I love someone on our site phrased it as your favorite driver's least favorite driver is Carson Hocevar. I like the way that was phrased. I can't remember the exact article off the top of my head, but it was 5 points. So it was it was Nick. So it's interesting to see this reputation carry from the Truck Series. I don't think necessarily he did anything wrong on Sunday, but what are your thoughts on Hocevar? Obviously, he gets the second place finish, and how long could this be sustainable?
So I have had the privilege of not only watching but also covering Carson Hocevar since he was in the Truck Series, and he is a super talented driver. And I agree with you, Trey. I don't really think he did anything wrong on Sunday. I think when you are a young gun driver looking to prove himself in a series, especially with a team that doesn't really have chances to go to victory lane. They still have just the one victory with Justin Haley way back when they were still almost a starting park team. And they've grown a lot, and so is Carson Hocevar. And I think when you have a young driver with a team that still doesn't have the resources like Hendrick Motorsports or Joe Gibbs Racing, with a fast car and a legitimate shot to win, I mean, I would expect aggression out of him. He wants to prove himself among one of the best, and I think it's unfortunate that he has a reputation that precedes him from the Truck Series, because there have been a lot of moments in the Truck Series where he was kind of a loose cannon for really no reason, with intentional wrecking or wrecking others to either draw a caution or in retaliation for something. It's unfortunate that that's followed him to the Cup Series, but I think he does have a really good mentor in Ross Chastain, because Ross Chastain was a little bit like he is now. Carson Hocevar is now, because Chastain was also a fiery young gun at one point when he first signed with Trackhouse, who wanted to prove himself, ruffled a bunch of feathers, and has finally mellowed out and has come into his own as a really good driver without having to need aggression. But I mean, like I said, I don't think Carson did anything wrong on Sunday. I think he was just trying to go for the win. And I think all the stuff that he did on Sunday, especially late in the race when he spun Ryan Blaney, I think he was one of the few people who was like, well, I shouldn't say one of the few, but he was one of many who wanted that race to go green, because I think he would have had a legitimate shot to win that race, and everything he did on Sunday wouldn't have mattered. So it's exciting. He's exciting to watch for the same reason that we all thought Ross Chastain was exciting to watch. I hope that he can harness the aggression, but I hope it doesn't go away completely, because I think we need drivers like him in the Cup Series to be your favorite driver's least favorite driver, as our own Nick Tillwalk put it.
At Anthony Damcott on Twitter, another takeaway from this, Anthony, is the Fords, and they showed a lot of speed, which they have at the super speedways the last couple of years since the next gen car. Really, you could argue outside of Penske at Phoenix, this is where they've shown the only place they've shown speed. Do you think if you're Ford, and maybe even Penske in particular, with how good all four Penske cars, and I'm including the Wood Brothers car in there, were these last 2 weeks, that they're going to regret the fact that they got 0 Fords in victory lane?
I think so. And I think the person who feels the most robbed of a good finish, I think, was the 21 of Josh Berry. And I know Austin Cindric was also up front most of the race. But I mean, that 21 car, except for the win at Daytona last summer with Harrison Burton, they haven't really found a lot of success, especially since the next gen came out. And they had a real legitimate shot to win. They won stage one. And they ended up wrecked on the final lap. They were the reason for the final lap caution. So I think Ford needs a little bit. I think that team meeting at Ford is going to be a little bit frustrating, or was frustrating if they already had it. But I think Ford is going to be kicking themselves for not putting any of their cars in victory lane, especially because the winning manufacturer Toyota was not seen all weekend, and Christopher Bell led only one lap and won the race. So and Ford dominated the day and was nowhere to be found at the finish. So I think they'll be when they come back in the summer, they'll be looking for a little bit of redemption.
At Anthony Damcott on Twitter, if you want some of the best truck coverage, check him out. He, of course, writes for frontstretch.com, and you'll see him throughout the season. Buddy, thanks so much for hopping on this morning.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is I'm used to being on your colleague Ed Lane's show, so this is something new and can't wait to do it again.
Hopefully it was a little bit better. Probably worse, but we'll see. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
And that will do it for this episode of the Morning Warm-Up. Philip, good job today. Good job.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Ty, good job training him. But yeah, that'll do it tomorrow. We'll have some fun stuff for you as well. Bryson Gordon joining us. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Morning Warm-Up. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.